those allegedly responsible for the attacks of September the 11th will finally face justice. They will be brought to New York, to answer for their alleged crimes in a courthouse just blocks away from where the Twin Towers once stood. Now, unfortunately, since I made that decision, members of Congress have intervened and imposed restrictions blocking the administration from bringing any Guantanamo detainees to trial in the United States, regardless of the venue.
That was Attorney General Eric Holder 2 years ago when he first announced that the masterminds of the September 11th attacks would face trial just blocks away from Ground Zero. Now, the administration reversed that decision after facing major and necessary political backlash. And here we are yet again, because we're now learning that after pleading not guilty to charges of conspiracy to kill Americans, the son-in-law of Osama bin Laden, Soleiman Abu Ghaith, will be tried right here in New York City. Now, didn't the administration learn anything 2 years ago? Well, apparently not, because despite the fact that Gitmo remains open for business, the president has made the reckless decision to endanger the city of New York and give rights to an al-Qaeda spokesman in a civilian court. Pretty unreal. Here with reaction from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow, and defense attorney Jeff Gold. All right, Jay, wait a minute.
Yes,
Enemy
sir.
Combatant, obviously at war with the United States, spokesman for al-Qaeda and bin Laden. Why? Are they that hell-bent on giving rights to non-Americans and Mirandizing them so we don't learn anything?
So think about this for a moment. If you had Adolf Eichmann in World War II and his son-in-law was the spokesperson for the Nazi regime and for Eichmann, and he was captured on the battlefield or in flight, which is what happened here, would we then want him tried in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York? Of course not. That's ridiculous. We want him to be given the right to remain silent? Absolutely not. So this idea that we're somehow showing the world that we're better than everybody else by trying a 9/11 conspirator in the United States puts New York at risk. And frankly, it puts our entire system at risk, because that's why you have military tribunals. That's why you have military commissions. And this is this dual conflict that the administration seems to be constantly in, Sean. I wrote about this on an op-ed for FoxNews.com. I call it the Obama doctrine. You know, you could use drones against American citizens overseas, and I understand all that. Okay, but you can knock out an American with a drone, but we capture an al-Qaeda operative who was the spokesperson for al-Qaeda, and we're going to try him in the U.S. District Court in the Eastern District of New York, to me, is ridiculous.
All right, Jeff, here's my question for you, because the president, Joe Biden, they were bragging all throughout the election campaign. They got bin Laden, but for enhanced interrogation, they didn't get bin Laden. Because I interviewed Jose Rodriguez. He was there for the enhanced interrogations, and he said without that intelligence, we wouldn't have found the courier and his nickname that led to the real person that led to bin Laden. So don't you think we'd be better off interrogating this guy without letting him lawyer up, without giving him the rights of American citizens for our own safety and security?
Well, my guess is that we had a parallel track to the criminal where the CIA or operatives did interrogate them before they brought him over. You know, it seems to me there must have been a deal, a diplomatic.
He has the right to remain silent. Right now, he has the right. He now has the right of an American citizen and a right to an attorney.
But not necessarily then.
Well, not necessarily then,
Sean.
but you know what? Over a period of time, these guys crack. These guys break. And they might finally give information to save American citizens' lives. What's better for the American people?
Look, I think he was of low value in the sense he's been hanging around since 2002 without much connection, apparently, to al-Qaeda.
How do you know? How do you don't know that?
He was the spokesperson.
No, he was the spokesperson then. He was on house arrest or in prison in Iran for most of this time. Look, we don't know, but I think that the CIA
is sitting next to bin Laden. I've got images of this guy sitting right next to bin Laden.
Well, you know, look, the object here is, are you going to put him in Gitmo and try him where there's been thousands of people and only 7 were convicted and almost all of those were nullified or overturned?
No, we can try him after we dunk his head in water a few times and maybe get some information out of the guy.
Well, let me,
my bet is he was, Sean. My bet is they did it.
Go ahead, Jay.
That's now.
But, Sean, he's been, and I'm going to ask this, Jeff, too. I mean, he's been Mirandized now. So, yes, statements that he said before are not admissible against him. He's been Mirandized. So what happens
don't
if the
care if they're
government can't
admissible.
prove its case now that all these admissions and all these statements can't be admitted? Or what do we have to do? Pull people off the battlefield
wait
to
a
be the
minute,
witnesses
wait a
on
minute.
this? We're going to try
Jay,
him in a
look,
courtroom.
Bottom line
No, I mean,
is
I'm
of
asking
the
you a question.
81
We're both trial lawyers. How do you do that?
Of
What do you do if he's found not
the 81
guilty?
terrorists tried in the Southern District of New York, 100% of them have been convicted. If I had my choice,
So you
I'd
think he's
have him
convicted already?
in the basement. I'd have him in the pool by the
right.
World Trade
Jeff, wait a
Center
minute.
and
You're
let
not
the
answering
ghosts of the
you
victims
didn't answer
try
Jay's
this
point.
guy.
Jay's point is quite relevant to the discussion. Any information he gave, now that
Right.
he's been Mirandized, none of this can be used. So you tell us, what benefit is that to anybody here?
Right.
And now he gets to clam up.
Well, again, anybody sophisticated in this sense would know that, A, they have a track for intelligence. They could care less whether they convict him or not. They just want the intelligence.
Is he an
I'm sure
enemy
the
combatant?
CIA
But now we
did that
put him
already.
in a civil court, though. We put him in a
That's
criminal, in a
now. That's
civilian
now.
court.
But we
So if you
haven't-
don't convict him, what do you do with him? He's found not guilty. What do you do?
Look, this guy is not of that
do you do?
great value.
Let
And
him
if
walk?
he is of value, we already know what he knows.
All right, wait, all right, but now
Okay,
here's,
so what do
here's
you
the
do
next
if he's
question.
found not
Wait a
guilty
minute.
because
Why
we
does
can't
he
admit
get
any of the
rights
evidence?
of
What
a-
happens then if Mr. Criminal Procedure, you're a good criminal defense lawyer, I've done criminal defense too. What do we do if they can't
Why
convict him, he's found not guilty? You let him walk?
Look, he's not going to walk. I'm a former prosecutor as
Do you
well.
let him walk if he's found not
100%
guilty?
100% of the terrorists tried in the Southern District of New York.
So
have
this is
been
just a show for the
Hang on
Obama
one second.
administration.
I got
So
one
we
last
can-
question.
we can-
Why
we
does
can
he
convict
get
the
the
terrorists.
rights?
Convicted.
Wait a minute. Why does he get the same rights as American citizens? Why? Why should he?
Well,
He shouldn't be.
he's charged with conspiracy. He wasn't on the battlefield. He wasn't a combatant at the time. And
He's
the
on the
government
field
has
with bin
chosen to
Laden.
sign
I've got
away.
video
We'll
evidence of
convict
it.
him, and we'll put him away behind bars.
He's got
now.
put the picture up again. He's got a picture
Exactly
of
what
a
I thought.
gun
It's a show
standing
trial.
next to bin Laden. That's not the battlefield
It's a
to
show
you?
trial.
He will never get out of jail. Mark my words.
Oh, mark your words. I feel
He
so
shouldn't
great.
be in a civilian
Yeah,
court in the
Mr.
first
Terrorist, you have
place.
the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court. And by the way, if you can't afford an attorney, the American taxpayers, they'll suck it
We'll
up
be
and
paying
pay
for
for
it.
it for you. All right, coming up next, breaking